Are you aware that in the lawsuit that Mr. Driscoll filed against you and the FBI, he was asked who he voted for?
Since that lawsuit has been filed, that's ongoing litigation, I'm not able to comment.
Well, but it also means that you just said that what happened in his situation didn't happen because he worked on the investigation into the Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election and helped investigate Trump's ally, Peter Navarro. And I'm going a little out of order here because I'm going to pursue some of the things that you were just talking to Mr. Fry about and remind you about your confirmation hearing. At your confirmation hearing in January, you said under oath, and I quote, "There will be no politicization at the FBI. There will be no retributive actions taken by the FBI should I be confirmed." And in your written response to the Senate questionnaire, you said, I quote, "Personnel decisions shall be based on performance and adherence to the law. And every FBI employee will be held to the absolute same standard and no one will be terminated for case assignments." So I want to just go through a couple scenarios with you to get a sense of whether you think these are examples of politicization of the FBI or making decisions based on the performance and adherence to the law. So, first question. Would hiring FBI agents, analysts, and supervisors from only one political party being politicization of the FBI or making personnel decisions based on performance and adherence to the law?
We don't ask FBI people, applicants, where their political parties are.
Mr. Patel, do you ask FBI applicants who they voted for?
The FBI does not.
Are you aware that in the lawsuit that Mr. Driscoll filed against you and the FBI, he was asked who he voted for?
Since that lawsuit has been filed, that's ongoing litigation, I'm not able to comment.
Well, but it also means that you just said that what happened in his situation didn't happen. So we will go on to the next question. Let me ask you an even easier one. Does firing agents for working on the cases that they were assigned to and that the president didn't like, is that politicization of the FBI or making personnel decisions based on performance and adherence to the law?
The FBI doesn't terminate anyone based on case assignments alone.
Has the FBI ever been sued by somebody who felt that they were terminated based on case assignments?
In the entire history of the FBI, I'm sure they have.
No, since your tenure.
I'm sure there's ongoing litigation.
Yes. In fact, there is ongoing litigation. And in fact, people have been asked who they voted for. And in fact, you are running an FBI for the President of the United States rather than the people of the United States, because my questions were not hypotheticals. They are the things you have done during your tenure. And according to a lawsuit filed last week by long-term FBI agents, you fired former acting director Brian Driscoll. He had served with the Bureau for nearly 20 years, earned a Medal of Honor, Medal of Valor for bravery during the dangerous ISIS raid, and had a wealth of crisis response experience and led the FBI's critical incident response group. When the Trump administrations interviewed Mr. Driscoll for that role, they interrogated him about his political leanings and who he voted for in the last 5 elections. Questions Mr. Driscoll refused to answer because those types of questions impermissibly politicized the FBI. You also fired Steve Jensen, who served the FBI for nearly 2 decades and ran critical terrorism, counterintelligence, and organized crime operations, whom you once described as embodying what the American public demands of the FBI. But he was fired because he took part in investigating crimes committed on January 6th, and Trump's MAGA base lambasted you online for keeping him at the FBI. So he's no longer at the FBI. You also fired a decorated combat veteran with decades of experience in the Bureau, Special Agent Walter Jardia, because he worked on the investigation into the Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election and helped investigate Trump's ally, Peter Navarro. Director Patel, it is very clear that you have flunked your own test. You've put saving your job, which I actually believe you were being honest about during your confirmation hearings, over doing what's right for the FBI and the American people. That is not adherence to the law. Thank you, and I yield back.
Time of the gentleladies.
This is a congressional oversight hearing where a lawmaker confronts FBI Director Kash Patel by reminding him of promises he made during his confirmation hearing. The speaker opens by quoting Patel's own sworn testimony and written responses to the Senate, where he promised there would be no politicization of the FBI, no retaliatory actions, and no firings based on case assignments. This opening matters because it locks Patel into his own words. The entire exchange that follows is framed as a test of whether he lived up to those promises or violated them. The lawmaker then explains she is going out of order, signaling that what she's about to do is deliberate and urgent. She introduces a series of scenarios meant to distinguish between legitimate personnel decisions and political interference. Her first question is straightforward. If the FBI were to hire agents, analysts, or supervisors from only one political party, would that be politicization or a lawful merit-based decision? Patel responds by saying the FBI does not ask applicants about their political affiliation. When pressed further about whether applicants are asked who they voted for, he again denies it. That denial is immediately challenged. The lawmaker references a lawsuit filed by Brian Driscoll, alleging that he was asked who he voted for. Patel refuses to comment, citing ongoing litigation. This creates a contradiction. Patel has just stated that such questioning does not happen, yet a lawsuit alleges exactly that. The speaker points this out, noting that Patel's refusal to address it undermines his earlier claim, and then moves on, signaling that this is only one example among many. The questioning then escalates to what the speaker calls an even easier issue: whether firing agents for working on cases the president did not like constitutes politicization. Patel again deflects, stating that the FBI does not terminate employees based on case assignments alone. The lawmaker presses him on whether the FBI has been sued during his tenure by employees who believe they were fired for their casework. Patel acknowledges there is ongoing litigation. At this point, the speaker makes a critical shift, stating clearly that her questions are not hypothetical. They describe actions Patel has taken while leading the FBI. With that groundwork laid, the lawmaker presents specific examples to support her accusation. She describes Brian Driscoll, a long-serving FBI official with nearly 20 years of experience, multiple medals for bravery, and leadership in the FBI's Critical Incident Response Group. According to the lawsuit, Driscoll was interrogated about his political beliefs and voting history during interviews under the Trump administration. He refused to answer because such questions, in his view, violated the FBI's nonpartisan mission. Despite his decorated service, he was fired. The speaker then cites Steve Jensen, another veteran FBI leader, who ran major counterterrorism, counterintelligence, and organized crime operations. Patel himself had previously praised Jensen as representing what the American public expects from the FBI. However, Jensen participated in investigations related to the January 6th attack on the Capitol. After members of Trump's MAGA base criticized Patel online for keeping Jensen at the FBI, Jensen was fired. The implication is that political pressure, not performance, led to his removal. The final example is Special Agent Walter Jardia, a decorated combat veteran with decades of experience at the Bureau. Jardia worked on the investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election and helped investigate Trump ally Peter Navarro. The lawmaker alleges that Jardia was fired because of his involvement in these politically sensitive investigations, again suggesting punishment for lawful casework rather than misconduct. In her closing statement, the lawmaker delivers her verdict. She accuses Patel of failing his own test and betraying the standards he promised to uphold. She argues that Patel chose to protect his position and serve the president rather than uphold the independence of the FBI and serve the American people. The conclusion is blunt and moral rather than technical. This behavior, she says, is not adherence to the law. She then yields back her time, ending the exchange on a note of finality and condemnation.